Welcome to the Nerd Cave. I am one of your hosts, Zach Dykes, joined along with Trey Price, where he is always right. You can check out Trey on Bearded Book Club each Wednesday night at 6 p.m. over on Facebook, YouTube, and the Twitch. Trey, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Great, man. I'm super excited to be here. Love talking Star Wars, and it's great that we can have these kind of conversations. It fills my cup in a very specific nerdy way.
Well, I'm glad we can pour into you and you can pour into us. It's like a baby bird, mama bird like situation where we're just like regurgitating
totally
back and forth. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
It's exactly it.
So with Bearded Book Club, I'm gonna give you a chance to plug it real quick. What are y'all reading right now, and how can people get plugged in?
Well, if you don't know what Bearded Book Club is, we are the only, and yes, we have checked, there is no other show like us out there, virtual book club, where we get together, we have a stream like this, very much like this, and I read a book to you, and we have a comment section, and we chat, and just enjoy literature all together. Right now, we are reading Dune by Frank Herbert. We started reading this because the people chose it. The people choose what we read, and we go along with it. It gained some popularity because the movie recently came out not that long ago. Yeah, exactly. I mean, no one heard about it. They didn't put any sort of money behind it or anything. So yeah, we're reading through Dune right now, and it's going. It's a slower read than I remember because I read this in college, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. And now I'm just like, when does it start? But
the spice.
The spice must flow. Why is it taking so long?
Is it more like molasses than water?
Yes, very much so. And it's like, oh, okay, here we go. But no, we're having a good time. We have very laid back discussion about it, and people are enjoying it for the most part. I've learned that a lot of people watch Bearded Book Club, but do not interact as much. They really like to creep and just listen to the reading.
They love the lurking.
They love lurking. So I thought nobody was watching at one point, and I was kind of getting discouraged with it. But a lot of people were like, no, I know a lot of people that listen to it regularly. And I'm like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can find us on all the different platforms. Bearded Book Club, BBC.
There you go.
That doesn't show up in any other feed. If you do hashtag BBC, nothing else pops up at all.
No. They can be lurking while wearing a jerkin. Listen to the BBC.
Yeah.
Now, you can get free by listening to the Bearded Book Club, but we have two sponsors for you because this episode is brought to you by Audible and Patreon. You can listen to your favorite books, podcasts, and more over on Audible. You can get your free 30-day trial by going to audibletrial.com/nerdcave. You can get books that are amazing. We're talking about Star Wars. Trey, name a Star Wars book that's amazing on Audible.
Right now I'm listening to Adventures in Wild Space.
Boom. There you go.
Yeah, I literally am. I did not pull that out of thin air.
There you go. You could be listening to the new Thrawn trilogy. There's so many Thrawn trilogies now. There's literally There's three, and then there's a duology, but that's neither here nor there. You can go and get a free audiobook right now by going over to audibletrial.com/nerdcave. Get it free for 30 days. And even if you cancel it, just secret, even if you cancel it, you get to keep that book. So go test it out. Also, podcasts are available over there. Also, guys, our other sponsor today is patreon.com. You can go support the Nerd Cave and become part of the ship, part of the exclusive crew by going to patreon.com/nerdcave. Just like our wonderful crew members, Brandon, the Salty Santa, Hicks, Richard Newell, Daniel Sanford, Rushing Waters Yoga, The Conductor, Marilyn James, Martin Sager, and Brittany, the Granny B. Harrison. This is the Nerd Cave, where we discuss the latest and the greatest movies and shows that you need to be watching. You can watch us live on twitch.tv/Nerdcave Network, or you can find the show later on youtube.com/Nerdcave Network. Now, Trey, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready? Because in this episode, we learn the cold, hard truth that 2 huts are better than 1, and keeping sand out of your shorts is a full-time job on Tatooine. This episode is called Tribes of Tatooine, so let's get into it. Trey, what are your overarching thoughts of this episode? And then we'll get into the grains, the titular grains of sand, if you will.
Right. All right. So I guess this is the spoiler-free portion of the show. Go watch Boba Fett. Moving into the spoiler portion of the show. Like just boom. Like okay, moving on. No, I really enjoyed this episode. It's interesting because I. I'm very interested in story
Mhm.
development and writing and all those different kinds of things. And I have read and studied this up. It's what I have a degree in, kinda, and all these different things. And I love the early episodes of a new show. A
Yeah.
lot of people are like, "Ugh, I don't like the early stuff." And I'm like, but the early stuff is so
Yep.
important
Yep.
because it's laying groundwork.
Mhm.
You need to know who your major players are, what the conflict is, and how we're moving forward. And that's what this episode does so
Yep.
well. It establishes, like it's called, the tribes of Tatooine, and it's just people there, people here, and it's really really cool. I love the groundwork that it laid out.
Yeah, I 100% agree because when you hear it later and they even reference it, oh, there's multiple tribes or whatever, and it's referencing necessarily the Tuscan Raiders in that sense, but we see the tribes of the Spice Runners, the tribes of the Hutts cartel.
Mhm.
The Tuscan Raiders have multiple tribes. The Jawas, just the regular, old humans and all, the people with machines and all of that. Like there's several tribes working on Tatooine, and a lot of time there's conflict. There's people are getting in the way of each other. This episode, just like last episode, does have a flashback that takes up majority of the show. This
It's like the whole second 2/3.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I think they're doing a really good job, but I'm just like, I just want to see what's going on now. Like
Yeah,
that's been kind of my thing, but I feel like we're going to I think there's 7 episodes in the show. I think might be next episode we're going to be at the end of his time with the Tuscan Raiders and everything, and then we're going to be getting more of the current kind of stuff, because like after the Tuscan Raiders, he's looking for his armor, he's going around, he's searching, he sees Mando, Din Djarin, all of these kind of stuff. So I think we're going to get there pretty quick. So what are some things that stuck out to you? We can get kind of in the grains of sand here, the sands of time. Take me back.
yeah,
Take me
right.
back.
Well, I'd like to kind of split it up. Like,
Okay.
let's talk about the present time and then the
Okay.
flashback, since it is the whole
Yeah.
pretty much 2/3 of it. Um, this is going to be something super specific, but it's super nerdy. Like when they got the assassin and she's like hauling him back on the
Mhm.
leash and they go through the giant
Yep.
door. That door brought up so
Yep.
much nostalgia
Mhm.
feeling for me. Like to see the door of Jabba's palace rise up again after all this time. Like I don't know why, and I wasn't expecting it, but I was like, "Oh, the door," and I don't know
Yeah.
why. It was just
Yeah.
like, "Oh man." And I love that this show is doing cool little nostalgic sprinkles here and there, but it's not beating that
Yeah.
tauntaun,
Oh yeah.
Like, so
Yeah, that bantha is not getting beat to death, like it's being
no,
cared
no.
for. And like the beginning, it has that door raising and everything. My thought was like, why in the world are they just walking everywhere? I understand like walking in town, but it's like, don't you have like a speeder? Like, can't you take the slave one into town? Like,
Yeah.
let's like, you're gonna wear people out. This is your secondhand person, and you're just making her walk all the way. It's like, did the Gamorreans have to literally drag Boba like through the sand, or did they take
Yeah.
the hovercraft? I don't know. But we see that this assassin from the previous episode is connected to this group that is very legendary and that apparently only can work by a Hutt's commander in Hutt space, essentially. And the thing that gets me here is that like Boba Fett's like, okay, we're gonna kill him and all of this, and then he doesn't say anything. And then you see his I forget her name, to be 100% honest.
Here, I'll pull it up for you.
He's gonna pull it up.
But keep going.
It dropped out of my mind. But instead of like the Gamorreans put the blade to this assassin's neck and everything, and he's not saying anything. It's like, okay, well, you won't say anything, just gonna get your throat slit or whatever. We'll just feed you to the Rancor.
Yes.
And like you could see like the terror in his eyes, and then the Gamorreans move back and he drops in, and you can see just the horror that is like gripped him and everything. And us being the audience, like we know what's about to happen and everything. And like he's like, like, and the door's starting to go up, and then he gives away the secret that the mayor has hired them to take him out and everything. And then it reveals that there's nothing there. And it was just
Yeah.
it was a good mind game, and it was just simple enough. But hey, if you're about to get ate by a Rancor, it's like you're gonna be start freaking out.
Yeah. It was really, really cool. One for the throwback factor.
Mhm.
Even though anyone that knows Star Wars from back in the day, you're like, that Rancor has been dead.
Yeah, a long
Like,
time.
and my question was, did they get a new one? Did they replace it? And then she was like, it's empty, idiot.
Yeah, yeah.
Her name, by the way, the character is Fennec Shan.
Fennec Shan. I was thinking of Shatil Shan from the Old Republic, and I was like, I know it's
Yeah.
Shan, but I couldn't remember. So
Yeah.
Fennec Shan, and her coming from Mando and now being Boba's right hand man, I think is really, really cool. And then we go back into town and everything. They're playing it up kind of for laughs, but like it's kind of annoying me, like the way that they're treating Boba. And I think that's the point, is like,
Yeah.
oh, we don't have an appointment. Like I would have already shot the guy.
Yeah.
Like if I was Boba Fett, I would have
Yeah.
already shot the guy and went in there.
Mhm.
And then we see how the mayor treats him. So it's like he's just like, you have no power here. You have, you're worthless. Like you just sit on an empty throne, essentially.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Dre.
No, I'm just with you on that, because like the mayor was kind of like, because we even speculated last episode, who's the mayor? Is it someone we know? Yada yada yada, all those different kinds of things, and then it's just some Ithorian dude.
Yeah.
Like he's just there, and it's like, oh, who interrupts me, blah, 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 and all that stuff. But yeah, that was very weird going into his office, because like you said, this is Boba Fett.
Yeah.
He's trying to set himself up as a crime lord. He has good evidence that this guy sent this assassin after him. So if nothing else, he's earned the right to barge in.
Oh yeah.
But then he's like, "Oh, I'm here to see the mayor. I found his pet. I'm returning it." And they're like, "Do you have an appointment?" And I'm just like, "What? What are we doing right now?"
Yeah, like it doesn't fit with like the character that we knew in the past. And I know he's gone through a lot, and I'll get to Amy's comment here in just a minute when we switch to the past part of it. But it's like he's still a ruthless killer, bounty hunter. And like they're like, "Oh, you're a bounty hunter." He's like, "I'm not a bounty hunter." And I'm like, you used to be a bounty hunter. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's this kind of weird rub. It's like he's trying to do these things, but like he's not willing to take the steps. And I think it's going to get to a certain point that he's going to like break and then just go off.
Yeah, I think the old school Boba Fett is gonna pop in after a little while, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh," and they're gonna give him a little bit of street cred, but he's gonna be like, "This is not how I want to do it," you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then
that bit of the story arc's gonna be cool.
yeah, I think it's going to be cool. And then the mayor's like, "Oh, well, you should go see this lady that we saw in the first episode." Like, I don't catch names. It's like the Twi'lek lady that's like over this like cantina type deal. And then he walks in.
Ghana,
Huh?
Ghana or Ghana, something like that. I think.
And
Yeah.
like she is like freaked out to see him, which kind of makes me feel like, oh, you should be dead. And then we start hearing a drum beat. We start hearing a drum beat and everything. And she says, the twins are coming, and that they
Mhm.
have claim to this, and it's like, oh well, the twins are on now Hutta, or now should die now what now I can't remember the other
El
one.
Shaddai is God,
Yeah,
Zach.
El Shaddai is
That's
God.
not the right
It's now Hutta, and there's another one that's the
Yes.
smuggler world. Anyway, um, it Amy said, "I want to see the mayor." um, and then you hear the drums, and they go out there, and Boba turns to Fennec Shan, and says, "Cover my back." And then we see this litter. And
Oof.
this thing, man, I feel so bad for these dudes having to carry these honking like masses of these
Yeah.
two huts, not just one, but
Not
two.
not 1 hut, but 2
And
huts.
it's literally bowing in the middle.
Yeah.
And this exchanges is really interesting. Like this whole thing, like between the two of them and everything. And then we get a really cool like nod to a Wookiee coming in. So
Oh,
what
man.
did you think about this exchange?
I absolutely love this. This felt like Star
Yeah.
Wars, like I
Mhm.
don't know what it was, but having just all these different aliens and these characters interacting in this very
Yeah.
tense moment, it was like talking to Jabba the
Mhm.
Hutt, but amped up because obviously it's not Jabba the Hutt. There's two of
Yeah.
them, and they did give us some important information. They said, his cousins are laying claim to his
Yeah.
territory. So these twins, which raises a lot of questions about the Hutt gestation and everything. Anyway, I won't get into all that. But the fact that these two are related, that they are the cousins of Jabba the
Yeah.
Hutt, and they are just now
Mhm.
trying to lay claim to Jabba's throne. Because it's not like Jabba died the other day. You know,
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah.
years
Mhm.
because Bib Fortuna was sitting on the throne and he got big and fat, and that takes time. And so we're led to believe it has been a long,
Yeah.
long time. So the fact that now all of a sudden they want to come and claim this is interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I loved the feel of the twins. Like they had this mafia feel to
Yeah.
them, like they felt like gangsters. The fact that there's twins is an interesting dichotomy,
Mhm. Yeah.
and especially where I mean, let's be honest, she is obviously
The one.
the actual leader here.
Mhm. Yeah.
She was definitely calling all the shots, and he was the mouthpiece, because he's, I guess, the male hut or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But like, I loved that part of it, and then they pull their strong arm card, and that Wookiee walks around from behind them, and I'm
Mhm.
just like, like I'm
Yeah.
watching it first thing this morning, and I was just like, it's a
Yeah.
Wookiee,
Yeah.
and I was like, it's a Wookiee bad guy. We never get Wookiee
Mhm.
bad guys. I was super
Yeah.
stoked about him. He's like immediately favorite character. Want to know everything about you. Like, I don't care about Boba Fett. Who cares? Who are you? What's going on here? Like, it did a good job of catching my
Oh
interest.
yeah, 100%. I'm trying to think. I think that it's supposed to be. I've seen this Wookiee before. Yeah, it's supposed to be Black Croston. Craston. Apparently, he's been in other things like in the Star Wars universe. Um, yeah, he works for the Hut Clan and everything. Because I'd seen him before. I'm like, At first, like the way it showed it from the back, like his fur was black and everything, but I was like, is this
Hmm.
Tarsus? Like, I don't think Tarsus would do this. And then like I was like, no, this isn't Tarsus, the one from episode 3 that was leading like the Wookiees on Kashyyyk and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was cool seeing like an evil Chewbacca essentially. Like
Yes, yeah, and they even went so far as to make him black and not brown.
yeah.
Like they made him look like a bad guy.
Hmm.
So I was stoked. I was like, yes, a Wookiee. That's what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah, and back to your time span, like it has been a long time because Mando starts 5 years. Season 1 starts 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So this is like
Hmm.
at least 6, possibly 7 years after Return of the Jedi, which Jabba's been dead that whole time and everything.
Yeah,
So like it does definitely put forth some questions. Why did they wait so long? Even if Bib Fortuna's there, you know, that ain't anything. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
That ain't
Yeah,
anything.
like, come on.
uh quick jumping into the chat real quick. Amy said, I heard twins and immediately thought Luke and Leia, and there was like, wait, no, that's not right. And then Dan follows up, the twins really let themselves go. So like I'm really curious where they're going to go with this, because it kind of like ends that part of the episode ends right there, and then we go back in the past. We see Boba back in the back to tank, and he's dreaming. He's thinking about the past and everything, and we're back with the Tuscan Raiders. Um, you know this this section like sets up like who Boba Fett has become, because we've seen him, like you said in last episode, he got like 4 lines, you know, he's
Yeah,
no good to me dead. That's about all
yeah.
we really got, from him.
As you wish, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. So now we're getting, more character development, that he actually like, cares about these Tuscan Raiders, that, like it's not just his captors, or it's not just he doesn't look down on them, like he's like learning from them, and really like taking it all in, not just get away, because in this episode he goes and takes out that gang that we see in the first episode that was terrorizing people.
Yeah, which was very quickly wrapped up, I thought. I was like, "Oh, that's oh, okay."
Yeah, it was just kind of just like a that's done.
Yeah, and okay, cool.
Yeah, it was more of a MacGuffin than really anything. It was like, oh, there you go. And
Yeah. Well, I felt it was like, "Here's a little victory."
yeah, yeah. And it's like Boba had the opportunity right then and there to leave,
Mhm.
because he had speeder bikes, all of this kind of stuff. He could have took all 3 into town, sold them, and then he's good to go, get the slave 1, and he's out of there. But no,
Yep.
he decided to go back to continue training and to learn more and more. So like I'm gonna open this up. I feel like I've been talking a lot, Trey. So what do you think about this part?
I really liked it, and I know I say that a lot, and I'm biased because it's Star Wars stuff, but
Mm,
the Tuscan Raiders have been like one of those icons of Star
yeah.
Wars. Like when you ask someone, what do you know about Star Wars? They know Jedi, Sith, Wookiees, and some people will say, I know the dudes that are like,
Yeah, yeah.
like, they know the Tuscan
Hmm.
Raiders. They have a very unique place in Star Wars lore. And the fact that we're getting like their culture built up
Yeah.
is great. And that's something that I really enjoyed
Hmm.
that, because talking about the canon that shall not be named, um if you played Knights of the Old Republic 2, the actual game,
Yeah.
not the online game,
Mm,
the actual game, you have a whole story arc where you are gaining the trust of some Tuscan
yeah.
Raiders. And I thought that was so cool in that game,
Mm,
because they have their own way of doing stuff, and it's vastly different from everybody else in the world. That's why these people are nomads and they live
yeah.
out in the desert and all that different kind of stuff. So when you start learning more and more about these Tuscans, I'm just sort of like, yes, this is cool, because you learn some very cool details. They were like, when the oceans dried up, it's like, hold on, excuse me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you telling me that the most famous desert planet in all of Star Wars wasn't always a desert planet? And that just raised so many more
Yeah.
questions. I'm like, hold on. Well, hold on, you know? And so all these cool things, and they even kept with the whole Western thing and did a straight up train heist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like for him to just like rally these guys, and it's like, look, you guys suck. How about I teach you to suck a little less, and we go rob a train? And they're like, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't ask questions.
And I love the training montage. Like, it would be like the Western thing. I didn't even think of it that way, but like learning how to jump from one horse to another and all of that, one speeder bike to another. Like it was really,
Yeah,
really cool. And, it's Boba and that same time, like learning their customs, like how to fight with a gaffy stick and, all the different ways to do it. And it's like, you see him like think he finally got his trainer. And then like, he just like grabs it like out of the air, like after he's been disarmed and everything. And it's just
yeah.
perfect. It's just a perfect time for it. And I'm going to hit comments real quick because Amy put one a little bit earlier. Amy says, I really enjoyed getting to see him interact with the Tuscan Raiders. I like that the new stuff is showing the Tuscan Raiders as people and not just as the savages like the original movies did. And that is a huge difference, because we've seen, you know, over the years, they're just mindless beasts. They just go after them. We've seen them in episode 2, but this tribe specifically seems different, because even the chieftain said, we hide. We don't attack. We don't do all of these things. We hide. We're different than some of the other tribes that are out here. And I thought that was really interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like to set them apart. And I remember when I learned growing up and, just consuming Star Wars stuff, that the wrappings are really just wrappings. That's not what they look like. Like as a kid, for some reason, I just thought that's what Tuscan Raiders looked like.
Yeah.
They're aliens. But then it's like, no, they're people wrapped up in protection from the desert. And I'm like, oh my force. Like it just blew my little mind,
Yeah.
And so I like that they're going back to this because Star Wars is such an interesting thing, because when you do new stuff, you are basically walking blindfold in a landmine field,
Mm-hmm.
because our fandom will
Eat you alive.
celebrate. Yes, we will celebrate you as the living embodiment of Jedi Jesus, or we will destroy you.
Yeah. There's no
we
interim,
will.
no room between.
Yeah, there's no mediocre Star Wars. Either we love it or it's garbage.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're walking this line of let's give people what they like and what they remember, but let's do it in a new
Yeah.
way where it's not just the same old stuff over and over and over. And I think they knocked it out the park with this episode. Like
Mm-hmm.
you said, it was a flashback. Majority the episode was essentially a flashback episode, but I wasn't mad at it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, this is cool. This is teaching me things that I love.
Yeah. And it's like you get the little carrot in front of you for the story that's going to go ahead, but then you get a lot of groundbreaking and foundation setting for who Boba Fett is now, because we do see him in the present time, and it's like, this isn't Boba Fett, like
Right.
what we've come to know. And they're doing a really good job for all the people, and Trey and I are these people as well, and I think Dan is as well. Like, we love the EU, but the EU Boba Fett is not this Boba Fett. Like, the EU Boba
No.
Fett is like Batman. Like, he is
Yes.
Boba God, essentially, like in the EU. Like, he fought Darth Vader and was able to survive. He's done all of these things, and it's like, this is not who he is. This is not that same Boba Fett.
Yeah, like he used to, like in the extended universe, he did gangster stuff. Like I'm pretty sure there's a whole book about how he actually kept cloning himself in case he ever actually died.
Yeah.
Like he did that before the Emperor did, okay? So like he's always been like one way in a lot of our minds if you go super deep like we do.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, like you said, this is different. This is not your daddy's Boba Fett. So which is weird because now we're the dads in that saying, and it's creepy.
Well, you're the dad. I don't have a kid yet.
But we're the dad age dudes now.
Yes.
But yes, it's very different. I gotta say, I'm enjoying it. Not everything has to stay the way it's always been. I think any fandom, Star Wars, whatever it is, if you try to do things the way you've always done things, then it's gonna die.
Yeah.
You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. You've got to do something different, and you've got to get people interested. That being said, certain tropes of storytelling just are timeless.
Yeah.
You can't beat them. Like this whole train heist thing. This has been done literally thousands of times.
Yeah.
Thousands of train heists have happened in all kinds of different media. But this was a Star Wars train heist, like, so it was something that we know, but we loved it because it felt like ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, them bringing in the Pikes, which were the Spice Runners, like the Pikes are a huge, like, crime syndicate within the Star Wars universe. Like, you've got the Black Suns, you've got the Pikes, and you've got the Hutts. Those are like the three big ones. And like them bringing them in and them actually taking off their mask. Like, didn't even know that was a mask until today, to be 100% honest. Didn't even know it was a mask. And I was like, okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
But Boba showing it's like, he's got restraint and he can make a deal. It's like, we could kill you right now, but then all the Pikes are going to come in and murder everybody. Like he
Right.
knew
He's
that.
not dumb.
Yeah, he knew that for sure. Take a few chats real quick. Dan says a clone of a clone. I would think there would be some degradation there. Yeah, there might be, because I know later on in the Clone Wars, Jango's DNA like started to deteriorate the longer they went on, and they were having issues with clones further into the war and
Yeah.
everything. So, but
That's where you got the Bad Batch.
yeah, but Boba is the only pure clone that did not have any enhancements and everything. So I don't think it would be as bad as like if you took like, Hunter or something like that and cloned someone off of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the basic, you don't like, even if you break it down to something as simple as using a copy machine, everyone knows that if you start making copies of the copies, it just starts getting bad after a while and it's not good. The original is always better.
Mhm.
And like you said, Boba is a pure clone.
Yep.
He is not altered in any way. They literally took Jango's DNA and replicated it.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah.
In a sense, he is clone number 001.
Yep. Yep.
And so there is nothing more pure than Boba Fett DNA. What's always been interesting is that they've always hinted that the clones can reproduce, like there are even some that could.
Yeah.
And they see that in like Clone Wars and stuff.
Mhm.
But like I said, that's copies of copies of copies. What does it mean? And this gets into the bigger Mandalorian lore aspect of it, because when Boba Fett and Din Djarin crossed paths, he was like, "You're not a Mandalorian." And he's like, "I will fight you if you say it again. Like, I will beat your face in through that helmet." Like, he got mad when he tried to tell him he wasn't a Mandalorian. So
yeah, and well, he even had
all going.
He even had like the DNA, like the code, the chain code that proved that he was, who he was and everything. But yeah, it's just really interesting. Amy, I just want to put this out. You guys are Star Wars encyclopedias. I thank you.
That is a compliment.
That is a very big compliment.
Thank you.
Dan puts in here as well. Were they Pikes? I thought they were at first, but I think Pikes from Clone Wars look a little bit different under their mask. I never saw them out of their mask in Clone Wars, but I am quite sure that this is the Pike Syndicate.
Yeah, it's the Pikes, and they look different in Clone Wars because that was a very specific animation style. It's just like that Obi-Wan doesn't look like Ian McGregor.
Or
Count
it's just Dooku looks.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God, Count Dooku. But
yeah, so it is definitely the Pikes, because he even says, "Is this spice that you're carrying?" And he's like, "What is spice?" Like, he's going through the Pike protocol.
Yeah.
He's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." He was like, "Spice, it's a drug mined from the Kessel slave planet." And he's like, "What does it look like?"
And then they drop it and it's like
everywhere. And he's like, "It looks like that." And he goes,
Nani? But like him making that deal and everything was just like really, really well thought out. Just to move a little bit further, we see, after this heist and everything, the Tuscans have accepted him and have made him a part of their culture, their tribe, essentially, and they clothe him, wrap him just like they would any other individual within the tribe. And then we get the acid trip.
I'm about to say, before the wrappings, weird stuff happens.
No, I think that was after, but yeah, like the acid trip and like the lizard, he's like, "Oh, thank you." Like he's trying to be like all nice.
I will let it guide me.
And then it's like, "Oh, here's some drugs." And then the lizard's like like
into the nose. And dude, as someone who recently got tested for COVID, that lizard going into the nose was a little too on the nose for me. I was just like, I know what that looks
like. Dan said, even went on a drug-induced spirit quest. Exactly. This does remind me of, a lot of native cultures, they would have some sort of drug induced spirit quest and everything that would be part of the ritual of becoming a full-fledged member of the tribe and everything. um
Yeah.
and it was really interesting how they had like this tree, and it was like the Sarlacc pit, and then it was like all of these different things, showing like Django coming and leaving from Camino. And then you
Mhm.
see all the red eyes, which are like the Jawas, which Jawas and
Yeah.
like the Sand People do not get along.
No.
Yeah, so it was very, very, very cool. And then like I was like, okay, he broke the tree off of him or whatever. And I'm like, all the passes broke off of him. And then he like comes back in and he's got this huge stick. And I'm like, oh, that was actually real.
Yep. He really did fight a tree.
uh Poor tree.
Yeah, and it's so funny because like he comes, shambling back in and he doesn't know why, but he's like, I've got this stick. And they take it like, oh, he has a stick.
Yeah, ooh, good job. It's like
Oh, and then when Homeboy just straight up like calls the lizard back out of his head, and I'm like,
and like his
oh,
nose like puffs up as the lizard's coming out, and I'm just like,
yes.
ugh.
Ugh.
Mm.
Which I'm kind of glad that happened because I'm like, does that lizard just live in his head now? Like,
It's like,
is that just a thing?
yeah, all of who doesn't have a pet lizard that lives in their head? Trey,
Not Boba.
Trey, you're not a real Star Wars fan if you don't have one.
Oh, well, we'll talk about it.
Oh, Amy has a comment here I want to read real quick. My dad would tell me a story about how he had a snake venom drink when he was in the village in Somalia, and I feel like this is the exact same experience would have looked like.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. So the end of it, which was really cool. Like he builds his gaffy stick. He had like this Bobo gaffy stick, that he's been carrying around and everything. All right, Dan, have a good day. We love you, man. And like it's this whole thing, and it's like him building it. It's not anyone else doing it. Like they're showing him how to craft his own gaffy stick, which was super, super cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the Tuscan equivalent of building your lightsaber, man.
Mm.
Like you live and die by the gaffy stick.
Yeah.
And so to have this whole special little area and he's like carving it and then he like hardens it in the fire and
Yeah.
all those cool bits and bobs. And I'm like, man, that was a cool scene.
Yeah.
Like it was really, really neat. What I'm interested and questioning now that he is Boba Fett again, where's the gaffy stick?
Yeah, we haven't seen him carry that around, which I feel like that would be a big sign to all the people of Tatooine. It's like I have my own gaffy stick. Like it would be a sign of like, I got friends on the other side.
Right, yeah, which he may be holding in his back pocket to
Mm,
where he's like, they're like, you don't have any influence, and he's like, au contraire, I'm good with the Tuscans.
yeah, yeah,
So if I need to, I will snap my fingers, and they will come out the deserts, and you think you know terror.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that's, that will come into play. I was talking to Amy about that. I was like, they don't understand like the people in the city is like he is connected to what they fear. Like they're in their little nice little city and everything, but everyone on the outskirts of cities are afraid of the Tuscans.
Yeah. And the Tuscans are the only Tatooine natives, if you don't count Jawas.
And other than you being a droid out late at night, you're not really having to worry about the Jawa.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Um,
yeah, anything you want to wrap up this episode on?
just to jump back a little bit, I saw Murdoch ask a question about the Hutts earlier. He said, how does something like a Hutt have that kind of influence to run things? They're slow and can't do much to fight either. I don't get it. Well, I have dived deep into Hutt lore because I have asked these same questions, and there's a lot of information about the Hutts. They are evil masterminds.
Yeah.
Like they think on a computer level. Like you don't think much about them, but the Hutts think like computers, and they have the evil fortitude. Like if a computer could be evil and was sentient, that's what a hut is.
Yeah.
And so they are, and they live for a long
Yeah.
period of time, and they play the long game. You know, when not to get too deep and too nerdy into this, but a hut is carried inside of its parent for 50 years before it comes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the kind of long game they're playing here, people. They don't even voluntarily get born until they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Huts do what huts want, is the point. And so they have these long standing things.
And it's a family business as well. So it's something that has been
Yes.
over centuries and thousands of years have been established, and that they've played all these power moves to set them up.
And you see a lot of this in the Clone Wars, and I recommend to anybody, if you want to really understand a lot of the new Star Wars that we all find ourselves living in, watch Clone Wars.
Yep.
Clone Wars lays the biggest foundation over so many different things. I can even give you the link to an episode guide to watch them in order so you don't get confused.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's very confusing. But like, that's why the huts are such a big thing, because they've been around forever. They live forever.
Mm-hmm.
And the craziest thing is, and this is a topic for another episode after we get done with Boba Fett stuff, I think. But there was one.
Yep, I know what you're about to say.
There was one hut who was a Jedi.
Yep. And
it's terrifying.
Yeah, and it's crazy because he was actually fit and could move around like crazy. He was not just a slug. It was
if you can imagine a ripped hut,
yep,
that's what it was.
Yep. Oh,
but yeah, we'll talk about him another time. Overall, I loved this episode. I thought it was absolutely fantastic from the ground setting. I'm looking forward to doing research into this new Wookiee and the new hut players and all these different kind of stuff. Murdoch said, "I need a picture of this."
I'll send you one, Murdoch.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, I love that we're establishing it, and I wasn't too upset at the flashback episode. Now I need it to balance itself.
Yeah.
Next week, I need mostly now.
Yeah.
I need mostly now to balance it out. Because it's like, what are we gonna do? We've got the huts we got to deal with their Wookiee homeboy. We got the Pikes in town. I'm pretty sure those biker aliens were not the only ones. I feel like there's more of them out there.
Yeah.
You've got the elected quote unquote officials, the mayor, because he's a little bit too chill for my liking.
Yeah, I agree.
He's just sort of. Go ahead.
I was just shocked that it was a Thorian. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I was not expecting an Ithorian, and when he's just sort of like, here's your money, blah, 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 you should just chill out. You know, he's just very calm, and I'm like, I don't trust anybody that's calm, that is that calm. I don't know. It threw me off, and I was like, anyway. But yes, I need a better balance. I need more now stuff next week, and I need Boba Fett to bash some skulls, do something.
Like I need him to get off the spice because it feels like he's still on that spirit journey.
Yes, he's like, I'm still coming down, but eventually I'll get caught up. It's fine.
Yeah, I think Fennec Shan is going to call him out and be like, "Hey, we've got to do something," and hopefully he will take her counsel on this and do something. You know, like she is a skilled assassin. We saw, you know, her in Bad Batch. You know, we saw her, you know, hunting. I'm not going to spoil any of that, but anyway, you saw how good she was in Bad Batch and everything. So now, you know, listen to her. She's helped you. You've helped her. It's time to, you know, to do something. You know, like he was like, "Oh, do you think it's done?" It's like, "No, you idiot, it's not done." And one thing, I'll kind of wrap it with this. The mayor said one thing that was very interesting. He's like, "It is hard to build a family."
Yes.
And when a mayor says family, like that's very mobsterish in my opinion. So,
oh yeah, like that's when I knew I'm like, oh, he is not a politician at all.
Nope.
There's a whole nother family out there, and he just happens to be on Boba's turf.
Yep. 100%. Well, everybody, thank you for watching this episode of Nerd Cave. We hope that you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week to cover Chapter 3, Episode 3, whatever they want to call it. It's going to be great. We're going to go through all of Boba Fett, and I'm really, really excited. So, guys, thank you for being here. Make sure, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button if you're over on YouTube. Hit the follow button if you're watching us live over on Twitch. And make sure you don't miss out on any of our awesome content. And go check out Trey at Bearded Book Club. You want to plug it one more time?
Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch under the Bearded Book Club. I read books to you and we chat about it. It's a good time. It's very chill. We meet every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, unless it's the first Wednesday. We don't meet on the first Wednesday because I've got other things I got to do on first Wednesday. But yeah, come hang out and join the Lurker army that we have evidently assembled and have a good story read to you.
Guys, thank you for being here. This has been Zach.
And Trey, I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
Y'all have a blessed week. Bye.